In the pursuit of creating a build for Rangers in Guild Wars 2 that can work in all game modes using one set of gear and minimizing the use of templates for convenience sake, I've not had to look far. The Sic Em Soulbeast is, in my and probably many others' opinions, the best Ranger build for all game modes. You can do competitive DPS in high-end PvE, burst mobs with ease out in the open world, play a very dangerous roamer in PvP and World vs. World, and in general this is just the most fun version of Ranger in my opinion. Yes, I have had my fair share of hating on Longbow Rangers, but when it comes down to it, if I'm playing Ranger, this is definitely the build I want to be playing. Sic Em Soulbeast isn't a new idea by any means, but what I have done is found the best optimization so that you can learn one general playstyle, obtain one set of gear, and set up a few different templates, and then you can enjoy all of the wonderful game modes of Guild Wars 2 without all the logistical problems of swapping builds. First, let's go over some basic Soulbeast mechanics that apply to all game modes. Soulbeasts will gain the ability to merge with their pets. They no longer have their pet roaming freely, but you can gain quite a bit of stats and new abilities as a result. Their stats and skills depend on the type of pet. There are kingdoms of animals that will determine your first two skills. So for example, all birds, all canines, all bears will give the same first two skills. Then the third skill is based on the role of that pet. For example, stout, deadly, versatile, and ferocious. We're going to want the ferocious buff because it gives the most damage. However, there are some pets which have unique families, so they'll have their own unique first two skills. I am talking about the Smokescale. While there are better pets for DPS, the Smokescale is very close to optimal and has quite a bit more utility and CC than the competition. You can tame a Smokescale in the Heart of Thorns map Tangled Depths by completing the meta event chain at either the Scar or New Hawk camps, and then interact with the juvenile Smokescale that spawns at these locations. If not, you can get a red Moa in Eternal Battlegrounds by sneaking behind the red keep if you don't own it. Not only do you gain your pet's abilities and stats, but any synergy that will affect your pet will affect you instead now. This is really important for the skill that the build is named after, Sic Em, because it buffs your pet for a huge damage modifier, but while merged, it will buff you. There are a few options to choose from when deciding how you want to build this depending on your preferences, so let's immediately get into the build and then I'll show how I use it later on. The equipment I take is mostly Berserkers with a few Valkyrie pieces and pack runes. The pack runes are very important because they give you decent damage modifiers, but they also help you to front load and maintain your fury uptime, which is super important. Soulbeasts get a lot of synergy from fury, and we'll see why later when we go over the traits. They also give you a lot of precision, which when combined with your spotter buff, fury, vicious quarry, and your flanking crit chance buff, will actually put you over the crit cap. That is why I take a Valkyrie Amulet and a Valkyrie Accessory, which will put you at 0.14% crit chance over the cap in ideal situations. If you want to optimize that further, it requires certain pieces of gear that I would just rather swap my trinkets for instead. This essentially gives you maximum power and critical damage modifiers, minus the fact that you have pack runes instead of scholar runes, while also giving you some vitality to be able to survive in World vs. World. The weapons I use are Greatsword and Longbow, which give a nice balance of ranged and melee options, and the sigils I use are cleansing on both weapons so that no matter where you aren't too far from a condition cleanse. Then I put Force Sigil on my Greatsword because this is where most of your damage is in PvE, and Celerity Sigil on my Longbow because when I disable a foe, it will give 5 seconds of quickness, which is really good for enabling quick combos for burst damage with the Longbow 4 point blank shot. And of course, you'll want to be using power, ferocity, food. That's all of the equipment, so now let's start with the PvE build. You'll have 3 trait templates available to you. If you only want to play one build in all game modes, that's enough. Just set up all of them as such and they'll swap automatically. If you want access to other ranger builds, you can decide from there to manually swap them or to buy more. I go Beast Mastery, Skirmishing, and Soulbeast. Take the Shout trait in Beast Mastery and then the Greatsword and the Axe trait. For obvious reasons, these give the most damage, but if you're wondering why the Axe trait with no axes in the build, it gives you ferocity even if you don't have an axe, and it gives ferocity to your pet, which you will gain because you will be merged with your pet. So it gives quite a bit of critical damage modifiers, which is going to be a common theme for this build. In Skirmishing, I take Primal Reflexes for Vigor on Evade because the bleeding is negligible and we don't use traps. Spotter is a good precision buff for yourself and allies. Then take Vicious Quarry, which is a massive DPS boost of 250 ferocity and 10% more crit chance while you have Fury. You also gain Fury whenever you swap weapons, so that'll be important to maintaining your Fury uptime. There's also Hunter's Tactics, which gives you 10% more damage and crit chance when you hit a target from the back or the side, so you want to make sure you're standing behind bosses if you can for the extra damage. In Soulbeast, you can go for Live Fast for extra quickness and Fury uptime, since you won't be leaving Merge very often, and therefore not entering it. Essence of Speed increases the duration of all boons that you have for 2 seconds whenever you gain quickness on a 5-second internal cooldown. It's great for keeping your boon uptimes in makeshift party compositions or self-buffing situations. You gain a large damage modifier while you have Fury, and another huge damage increase for a short time after disabling a foe. Because your disables will give Fury because of the Greatsword trait, you can often do massive damage while also providing CC to your team. Then you have the option to take Leader of the Pack or Oppressive Superiority. Oppressive Superiority will be better for increasing your personal damage when your group doesn't need support or in solo situations, but Leader of the Pack allows your stances to be shared to nearby allies while also increasing the duration of them for yourself. This can provide powerful support to your allies and can even increase their burst damage from one wolf pack. If you're insecure about the size of your DPS meter or you are often solo, take Oppressive Superiority. But if you want to carry your team by providing them powerful cleanses in tight spots, stability in higher pressure situations, and even damage reduction, and of course one wolf pack will supplement the burst of your entire party, it's your choice. Signet of the Wild is a skill you'll almost never use, just use it to keep the passive ferocity for more damage. Sic Em is a damage modifier for your pet, but since you will generally be merged instead, you will gain that. It's important to overlap Sic Em during your damage burst or the window of 10 seconds where most of your damage occurs. So your damage comes mostly from the Greatsword 2 Maul. The ability hits really hard and will give your pet's next attack a damage boost of 25%, but since you are merged, you will get that boost. Because of this, you want to use your next highest damage single hitting ability after Maul, which is most likely your Worldly Impact. Because you have some hard hitters like Rapid Fire, Barrage, and Smoke Assault, but they multi-hit, you really want to prioritize using Swoop and Worldly Impact after Maul to get the most out of the buff. But because that isn't always possible, because you usually want to use Worldly Impact in your Sic Em duration, but you also want to have Barrage pulsing during it to get even better value. So there will be a specific combo that I'll show. Whenever Sic Em is on cooldown, you should just prioritize using Maul off cooldown. In Longbow, your Rapid Fire has a good single target burst, but when it's on cooldown, you'll struggle to maintain your damage, so I generally only go into Longbow if I can't melee, or when there's a phase change or something where I can't do damage in melee. And I can prepare my next burst. The main burst combo will start in Longbow. You start casting Barrage, which will channel for a few seconds, and then arrows will start falling down for a much longer duration than your cast time. You want to Sic Em right after you finish casting Barrage, so you can stack all of your damage into a short window of time. Then you can use one Wolf Pack, which will give you a buff that makes you deal extra hits on your attacks with a 1/4 of a second internal cooldown. Because Barrage is still happening while you're using other skills, it procs a lot of these extra attacks for a massive burst. You can then use Rapid Fire, and then swap to Greatsword, use Maul, and then, since your Barrage is going anyways, you can't optimize the Maul buff anyway, so you'll just use Hilt Bash, which if it hits will recharge your Maul, and because it's a disable, it will proc your twice as vicious buff. And then you can use Maul again, and you can use Worldly Impact, which does a lot of damage, and then auto attack until your Maul is up again, and then you can Maul into either Swoop or just go back into Longbow. Since it's hard to fit a Worldly Impact into your Sic Em duration and your Maul buff without delaying Mauls, which do tons of damage anyway, you don't need to think too much about prioritizing that synergy in PvE, but in a lot of situations you can do it because your rotation will be broken up by mechanics. At this point, you can wait for another Maul and then go back into Longbow and use Rapid Fire. Just auto attack until your Sic Em and weapon swap are almost off cooldown, then you can Barrage and start the entire combo over again with Sic Em. So here's what it looks like. So I'm going to make sure that I hit the boss from behind first of all to get more damage. Then I'm going to Barrage into my one Wolf Pack and Sic Em, Rapid Fire, then swap into the Greatsword, and then from there I'll use the Maul abilities and I'll Hilt Bash into Maul again. I'll just Worldly Impact. I'm going to just auto attack until my Maul comes up, then I'll swoop, and then I can use either takedown or my F2, and then I'll Maul again, swap into Longbow, use my Rapid Fire. My Sic Em is on 6-second cooldown, so I'll wait till like 3 seconds are left, and that's my weapon swap cooldown. So now I'll use Barrage, and then I will use Rapid Fire Sic Em, and then swap back into the Greatsword, do all that again, and then Worldly Impact, auto attack until I get my Greatsword 2, and then swoop, maybe do a little bit of this, repeat. If your team needs support, you can share them damage reduction and stability, or condition cleanse from your stances if you've taken that trait. When you need to take out break bars, you can use the takedown, merge F1 ability, which is a knockdown. The Longbow 4 is a knockback, and Hilt Bash is a long daze or stun if you hit from behind. If you really need more CC, you can unmerge, and your Smokescale will do a smoke attack, and then it will do a knockdown right after. And you can even make that happen faster if you use your F1, which will tell your pet to attack the target, and that will cancel the smoke assault and make them use their CC faster. So here is a Fractal CM 100, and I'm going to start out by using my Rapid Fire, and then I'll Smoke Assault to the boss so that I can immediately start doing my Barrage into the one Wolf Pack Sic Em combo. I go into my Greatsword, do my burst and the Worldly Impact, and that's pretty much most of my burst done. So I'm gonna go ranged so that I can do the mechanic and still do DPS with my Longbow while doing the mechanic. So it's kind of convenient timing there to swap into the Longbow. My Sic Em is coming up soon, but I used the Barrage early because that's just what I can do. So now I'm going into the Greatsword, I do my Maul into Sic Em, and just gonna keep mauling the boss here. I land a 46,000 Worldly Impact there with the Maul buff. So yeah, you do a lot of damage. So here I swap into the Longbow because the boss ports away, but I probably should have actually stayed in the Greatsword there because I thought that the boss was gonna do a mechanic where we had to split again. So that was kind of like a loss in DPS there. And another thing is the Force skill is a really good block that you can use to survive, but if you actually use the counterattack, it's more damage than just auto attacking as well. So here we need to CC the Sorrow. I use my Hilt Bash and Takedown, and we take that out. I use my counterattack from the block on the 4 skill, which allows me to do more damage. So it's kind of like rewarding to use it in a very intelligent way. And then while the boss is kind of like running away from me, I swap into Longbow to precast a little bit of damage and to get my combo going when I swap into my Sic Em Greatsword burst. Here we have to split up, so I'm going to stay in my Longbow and just auto attack, maintaining a little bit of DPS, but just mainly waiting for the mechanic to end. Here I'm going to CC, and I use my Sic Em a little bit early into my barrage, but I'm going to use my Hilt Bash combo, and now we're going to hit the boss. I use my Maul into Worldly Impact there, and the boss has protection, so it doesn't really do that much damage. But now we're going to, so I swapped into the Longbow here to see what's going on, take a little bit of a breather, and then I go in and do my barrage into Sic Em. But the boss moves out of my Sic Em, so it's kind of unfortunate. And we have to split up here because the mechanic is going to happen, I think. Actually, no, it phases, so we actually have to CC soon. So I'm going to stay in Longbow here so that I can use my Longbow 4 to CC one of the Sorrows. I get a takedown and my Hilt Bash to CC one of the Sorrows, and then I'm going to resume DPSing on the boss because I've used pretty much all my CC. So at this point, I have to watch out for the doubts there, so I actually kind of didn't do optimal DPS burst there, but as long as we don't die to the doubts at this point, we pretty much win. So we're just gonna slowly finish off the boss here, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's kind of how you play the Sic Em Ranger. You want to think about the flow of the fight and kind of like think or premeditate when you can do your bursts, and that's going to increase your DPS a lot more than just doing the basic golem rotation. You want to actually think about when burst windows are and then put your Sic Em into there. And even though I didn't really do that perfectly on this fight, you can kind of see where I should have. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Your PvP gear is accessed through this panel, which is part of the same template that your World v World and PvE gear are on. I use the Berserker Amulet for maximum damage and the Rune of the Warrior. You can also take Divinity Rune if you wish, but I was using Warrior recently, which gives similar amounts of vitality, but also gives you a shorter weapon swap cooldown, which feels pretty good because you don't get locked out of an answer to a situation as much. Also, I use the Cleansing and Energy Sigil on my Greatsword and Separation Courage on my Longbow. Because stances are pretty nerfed in PvP, you will need to utilize a different trait line for PvP, which is the Wilderness Survival traits, instead of Skirmishing. Replace some stances with survival skills and take the Wilderness Knowledge trait to get your Condition Cleanse. You'll have 4 Condition Cleanse on your heal because you proc the Muddy Terrain whenever you use your heal skill, which is an extra survival skill. Merging or unmerging with your pet every 12 seconds will trigger Lesser Quickening Zephyr, which is also a survival skill. And then Cleansing Sigil on your Greatsword, and the Utility Quickening Zephyr will also give you cleanses. Wilderness Survival will also give you access to protection whenever you dodge, and your protection will heal you, which when combined with your cleanses gives you the ability to sustain against most situations. You'll gain more protection from the Protect Me utility, and whenever you merge from Unstoppable Union. Unlike in PvE, you want to be merging and unmerging quite often to make use of the utility of your pet and the traits like Unstoppable Union and Lesser Quickening Zephyr. Also, there is a powerful combo that you can do to get in stealth, which helps you survive in between your burst combos. Essentially, you'll be using your pet abilities and modifiers to enhance your burst, and then you'll unmerge when your damage is on cooldown to let your pet peel for you, but the F2 of the Smokescale creates a smoke field. You can rapid fire through it for blinds, or you can use the Greatsword 3 swoop for stealth. Learning the flow between merging and bursting and unmerging and kiting with stealth and repositioning is the key to performing well on this build. So let's go over the damage sources and combos of this build. You obviously want to use Sic Em when you burst, so you'll usually be merged to get that buff. And Sic Em will reveal the target or prevent them from going in stealth, which can really help you to counter thieves. If you're bursting a target that doesn't need to be revealed, you may telegraph your burst by revealing them. They may see that they are revealed even though they may not see you. However, you need a target to Sic Em to get the buff. So what you can do is Sic Em any other nearby targets instead, and then swap to your intended target, and then burst them without telegraphing your entire burst. This is only really necessary when you're trying to sneak up on someone, of course. The standard burst combo will be merging, cast barrage if you have time to, or just go straight into one wolf pack, Sic Em, and then you can put in your Longbow 4, and then you'll use your rapid fire and smoke assault, and that will be a very reliable damage because your rapid fire is long range and your smoke assault will stick to the target. And it's going to trigger your one wolf pack very often because you're hitting so many times. After you smoke assault, you can go into the Greatsword burst with maul into a takedown, and if you land one of your CCs such as takedown or your hilt bash, you can worldly impact, which will do a lot of damage. And then you can unmerge once you've used worldly impact, and then you can put your pet on the target, which will do more CCs if they use their knockdown, and then you can maul from there, and from there you can use the F2 on your pet, and you can swoop in for stealth and kite with the counter attack, or swap into your longbow and use the stealth, reposition, reset, and repeat. So this is a ranked PvP match. I'll be playing the Sic Em Soulbeast as a roamer role, which means that I'll not be really capping nodes so much as trying to get kills for my team and snowballing the map. So I use my smoke assault or my smoke field combo there on my Smokescale, and that allows me to get a better opener into the team fight. I use one wolf pack with Sic Em immediately to get pressure on their necro because I know that necromancers have very low amounts of shroud at the beginning of a match, but they get away and I'm kind of stuck in the Greatsword, so I back off and try to get to my longbow. I do another rapid fire on the ranger, but they're getting peeled for by their team, so I have to kite around terrain here. I see that the Reaper is pushing back into the fight, so I have to go into my smoke field for stealth to peel from the ranger, and I've pretty much got no cooldowns, so I'm going to go into far to try to decap that just in case they try to like pressure me or something. I'll be able to reset, but I get chased and I land my heal, but yeah, this is still kind of dangerous because I'm pretty low. I see that the Mesmer is still going to chase, so I get off the node. I put my pet on the node so they can get pressured, but I get hit by the Phantasmal Mage, which is pretty bad, and I'm going to play very aggressively because that's all this build can really do. I smoke assault into one wolf pack and I knock them down, and I still have the Sic Em up so they can't go in stealth, and yeah, they're gonna get longbowed from really far away when they're trying to disengage there. So that's a pretty good kill for us because I really pressured the necro at mid, and then the Mesmer pressured me, and I brought them into a smaller situation and could get the kill. So while this build is not a duelist, it can actually duel in some situations, but if I had gotten like +1'd or any other kind of like situation that I couldn't control, I'd probably be dead. So I am bleeding this Mesmer off node while I cap the node, which is kind of risky because if anyone had tried to res the Mesmer, I probably wouldn't have gotten it. But we do eventually cap the node, and we are going to cleave out the Mesmer now finally and then go into the team fight. But now the Reaper sees me and I get my heal off, but I do have to be very careful here because the Reaper can really pressure me, especially when I've used all my cooldowns in that 1v1. So I finish off the Mesmer, but I eat a Spinal Shivers, so I am very dead at the moment if I try to go in, which I do. I go in with my one wolf pack, smoke assault, and try to rapid fire them, but yeah, I get feared. I have chill on me. I use my smoke field into the leap for stealth, but their thief arrives, and now this is a very, very bad situation. So I overcommitted to killing the Reaper when I was low on cooldowns, and I should have just disengaged to play a little bit safer. I use my smoke assault to try to survive as long as I can, but I am pretty much dead. My team is going to be 4v3ing mid, but now that I'm dead, their thief has the freedom to go wherever and kill my team, so it's probably a bad... They're gonna go for a decap, I think, so we're probably gonna be on like a reset map state in a way. So when I respawn, I want to go into mid. I'm not going to cap home because I don't want to be chasing a thief around caps. I want to be chasing them around kills. I want to be getting kills faster than them. So I go to mid, and I'm looking at the Reaper because they're probably the best target, but the thief is back, and I immediately use Sic Em on them and use my entire burst. I stay in Longbow while using my smoke assault because I know that a thief's escape is through distance and mobility, so if I swap into the Greatsword, I'm probably not going to be able to secure the kill. So I land my barrage here while cleaving, but their team has a lot of support and they're going for the res here. Mine doesn't really have that much cleave to respond, so they get the revive, and now I am in a very bad situation. I'm trying to survive, so I go into the lamp, which allows me to survive because no one's going to chase me here, and I'm just going to wait for my heal to come off cooldown, because if I die, then I'm going to give my team a lot less presence than if I just wait for my heal skill to come off cooldown. So I wait for that, and then I check out the situation. So it looks like their Mesmer is on their home node, so I can't go there and decap that. So I'm going to go into the mid fight and try to kill their Renegade because it's targeted right now. And we're going to coordinate some damage here, but it is a Renegade, and Renegades are one of the tankiest DPS. So when they're getting supported by a Guardian like this, it's probably going to be very hard to kill them. So we should be focusing the Guardian, but my teammates actually retarget to the Necro, and I don't retarget with them. So that's one thing that's really important, is as a roamer, you want to coordinate your damage. And because I didn't focus on the target soon enough, it basically meant that we weren't going to get kills here. And the Necro kind of like just leaves, so we retarget back to the Guardian, and so now we're 3v2ing them, and we actually get the Renegade down. The Necro is back, but the Guardian gets the Signet, and I can't really CC that because the Guardian is going to have a lot of stability. So we do get the Immobilize though with the heal on the Guardian, and that allows us to really pressure them and get the down. So now that their support is gone, we can really snowball this team fight, and I'm going to pretty much stagger their team by chasing down this Revenant. And even though they're a Renegade, they're pretty difficult to kill. It's very valued to get this kill because we want to, as I said, stagger their team. And yeah, we kind of aren't really capping nodes right now, but that's not really my job. So if it's not happening, then it's not my role. It's not my job. So the Guardian respawns, but they don't have the Signet res, so we have plenty of cleave. The Condi Thief here also probably want to be watching out for that, but because my heal skill cleanses so many Condis, I'm able to use my heal as soon as they use their burst on me, and I just chase them with Sic Em. They try to port around with their short bow, but I think I lose sight of them because, yeah, they juked me around that corner. I have to swap to my Greatsword to chase, but they have short bows, so they're going to outmaneuver me here, and they know that they can't go for the decap because they'll just die. So I keep a target on the thief there, but now the Renegade's coming in, and I have to be super careful. The thief comes back because they see that their Renegade is there, and I'm not going to try to hold the node. I'm just going to try to stall for time here. So I unmerge for my Smokescale and use the leap through the smoke, which allows me to stealth, and then I use my quickness there to just run as fast as possible to get out. I get knocked, and I have to use the Smoke Assault to survive. I do my Maul combo and takedown, but they have their blocks. So I'm just going to try to kite here and survive because I had left basically a 1v2 situation. I get my stealth there, which helps me to survive, and I'm going to go back into the lamp just because, as I said, I don't want to die, but I'm a little bit better in health, so I can afford to play a little bit dangerously to get more presence for my team. And as I do leave, the renegade goes back on me, so it kind of prevents my team from dying here, and I get some really good burst return on the renegade. So this is a pretty good situation. I have one wolf pack up, but I'm not merged, so I can't sic them, so this is kind of like a waste of my utilities. I don't get the kill and they get supported, so I go back into the lamp just to lose a little bit of aggro. And now we do have 2 nodes. We're actually capping a 3rd, but we're going to lose far. I want to stall the, so we're splitting their guardian from pushing in with their team by focusing them, which is pretty good because we don't have a support and they do. So if we create awkward rotations for their team, it'll be way better for us. So because the renegade didn't have a support, they're kind of low, but they reconvene with their guardian and they're going to get the signet off, I think. I guess they got interrupted maybe or something, or they didn't see it, but yeah, they don't get the res off. So I'm going to head into far. We're going to keep chasing this guardian. They use their elite skill, so we're not going to be able to get the kill for now. I try to one wolf pack, but yeah, they have all their cooldowns now. I decap the node while barraging so that I can give presence to my team while also performing the objectives. And yeah, we're kind of out-rotating their team now. Their necromancer comes in and I see it's really low, so I try to burst them before the guardian arrives, but I get interrupted and I have to play very safe because a reaper that isn't getting counter pressured because it has support can go ham and kill me very quickly. So I go into stealth here with the smoke field and the leap combo, and this is an awkward situation for them because I'm a roamer that can leave at any time, but they also can't have any of them 1v1 me because the guardian will eventually die because I have so much damage, and the reaper will eventually die 1v1 as well because I have so much damage and ranger is a good matchup versus necro. So I don't go on the node because I know that they're in staff. I let my pet go on the node to proc all of those marks. I go into stealth here to be safe and wait for their shroud to go down. And yeah, now that the necro is by itself, I use one wolf pack as soon as they leave shroud, and we're able to just get the kill here because we have so much damage and they just left shroud and they had to lich, but it's not enough. So yeah, 1v1ing is sort of possible, and because we created that awkward rotation where if they 2v1 me, they waste their time, and if they leave, I'll 1v1 whoever, kind of creates a awkwardness for their rotations, which is really nice for giving my team an advantage on the map. So now our warrior is going to sit on home and I'm going to cap far, and that's pretty much a winning play. I know that they probably have a respawning necro, so I'm going to watch for that. And yeah, here's the necro again. I knock them back, so they've used one of their stun breaks already, their second stun break as well. That's their yeah, both their stun breaks been used. I think they might have a third, but as soon as they leave shroud here, I'm going to be very aggressive. So while they're in shroud, I block, I evade, I get off the node even, and yeah, I have to be very careful here. But as soon as they leave shroud, they have 3 stun breaks. So as soon as they leave shroud, I am going to play super aggressively. I leave. Yeah, I'm going to have to... They go back in shroud here. So I kind of missed my kill window because they had cooldown still. But as soon as they are out of shroud, I am able to get the kill and we win. So yeah, that's pretty much how you play the Sic Em Soulbeast in PvP. You can use the same traits for PvP in World vs. World, but because you have access to the powerful cleansing sigil, you don't really need that much cleansing. And because stances are much more powerful in World vs. World, you can get better results from them. Doltiak stance is a 30-second cooldown, which is pretty ridiculous because it gives you damage reduction, stability, and condition immunity. And Bear stance can also fill the gap in between your condition cleanses. For this reason, I use skirmishing in World vs. World. You have even more options though. you can take the Axe Grandmaster and Beast Mastery, or you can take the Taunt trait, which helps you to land more of your damage. It's a choice between pure damage and utility. Usually the pure damage is better in larger fights, but in a small scale duel, especially against better players who know how to dodge, it can help to bait out more dodges or cooldowns for you to land your damage. Also, the skills which trigger the taunt, the Smokescale F2 and the Worldly Impact, are both considered B skills. You can use both to proc it, but there's a weird interaction to remember. If you use Worldly Impact, it will put the taunt on internal cooldown, but if you use the smoke field, it will not put the taunt of your Worldly Impact on cooldown. I guess this is because your cooldowns are shared when merged and independent when not. So basically you can use the unmerged taunt of your pet with the smoke field, and then you can merge and use the Smokescale F3, which will taunt as well. And because there's a little bit of a delay on the Worldly Impact's taunt, what you can do is you can attempt to do Worldly Impact and then Smoke Assault, which will keep you on the target and can taunt them, and then you can CC chain them from there. In skirmishing, you can take the Quickness on Evade trait because that will trigger the Essence of Speed, which will give you more boon up times. But if you're the type to sit on a wall, you probably want Spotter. Then you can choose between Vicious Quarry for the big damage or Quick Draw, which is personally one of my favorite traits in the game. When you swap weapons in combat, it will lower the cooldown of your next weapon ability by 66%. So you can use Swoop, and then you can use it again in a few seconds for a lot of mobility and escape potential, or you can use it for Longbow 3 and that'll give you stealth, and then by the time your stealth runs out, it's already off cooldown and you can get more stealth. So it basically allows you to adapt to the situation and choose more of one resource to handle it. Personally, I would use Quick Draw always, and then swap between the Axe and the Taunt trait depending on the scale of the fights that you're in. Even though you can't swap pets in combat because of the Soulbeast limitations trade-off, you can go out of combat and swap pets. And some of the options you have are the Alpine Wolf, which you can merge with for a more defensive option because it gives you a leap, which you can use for mobility, and a stun still, but you have Unflinching Fortitude, which is a stun break and will give you 4 seconds of immunity to physical damage, and it'll remove movement inhibiting conditions. You can also use the Seamoth, which can forage for items that you can use and precast for the next fight, and then you can swap the pet, and then you have the Smokescale with the Plasma or a Feather or something like that, which can be very powerful. But that's pretty much how you build the Sic Em Ranger. Stick around to see a montage of World v World roaming clips after this, but if you would like to support me, share this video, like it and subscribe, and consider becoming a patron. Anyways, check out the links below for any other relevant information, and I will see you next time.